A scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream. I want to line the pieces up. Yours and mine.
Well, we have reached the end of Kingdom Hearts month. Well, actually, it kinda ended a while ago. Sorry about that. See, over the past few weeks, I actually injured myself and had to go to the hospital, and it just wasn't pretty. So working on videos was something I couldn't actually do. But the minute I got all better, I went back to working on this episode. So, sorry it's taken so long, but here we go. It's time to truly end KH month with the most popular in the series. Today I'm looking at Kingdom Hearts 2. Back in 2006, there was no game that I was looking more forward to than Kingdom Hearts 2. Like I counted the days before its release. And when the date finally came, I couldn't play it, because the video store where I used to rent my games had a shipment error and didn't get the game on time. Luckily, it wasn't too long before my mom got another copy from another video store and I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2. And now here we are, 10 years later with the long-awaited final mix version. So without any delay, since we're going to be on this subject for quite some time, let us take off this review of Kingdom Hearts 2. Alright, I have a little bit of a confession to make. I kinda skipped a game in the series. Yeah, so before this, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories was released for the Game Boy Advance, and later on for the PS2 known as Re-Chain of Memories. There is a legitimate reason as to why I kinda skipped it, and I guess I can tell you now. See, I loved doing Kingdom Hearts month. I liked it a lot. It's been a lot of fun, and since 2.8 is coming out later this year, I'll be able to record Kingdom Hearts 3D and therefore be able to cover all the Kingdom Hearts games. So I decided to leave all the portable games for the next time I do this special on my channel. But I'll try to explain briefly about what happens at the end of the game without any huge spoilers, since it leads to the story of Kingdom Hearts 2. Let's start off our journey of Kingdom Hearts 2 with a brand new character being introduced to us. This kid here is Roxas. The game takes place at the end of Roxas' summer vacation, and some weird stuff has been going on. Someone has stolen all the photos that the gang had in their possession, but not just the photos. The word photo has been taken as well. After beating Cypher, oh hey look, more Final Fantasy characters, a white figure swoops by and steals the photo in front of them. Roxas chases down the thief and attempts to fight it. His attacks, however, have no effect. He then gains the Keyblade through some odd occurrence, but then has the ability to fend off the enemy. The gang gets back together and day one ends. Each night, Roxas appears to be having dreams of Sora's memories from his previous adventures. This is how he learns what the Keyblade is. As the days go on, Roxas keeps having these dreams of Sora until one day he comes across a mysterious girl by the name of Naminé. It's at this point where Roxas starts to notice that things are changing. Before long, he's brought into a world that Sora once visited himself and fights his way using the Keyblade. He also meets up with Naminé one more time, and it's here where the story gets weird. Okay, so here's what I'll do. I'm gonna basically give the rundown of everything that happens to Roxas at this point, since this whole introduction thing is all about Roxas. Alright, let's go. After meeting Naminé, Roxas keeps having more and more visions of Sora, and one day during the struggle tournament, time just stops, and Roxas meets a man known only as Axel. After fighting him, we meet a man named Diz. After spouting to each other that the other is lying, time returns and everything else returns to normal. Well, normal for the most part. Oh, and before I forget to mention, while Roxas' story is going on, we also see Diz and another hooded figure talking about Sora's recovery rate. And it's here where I have to start talking about Chain of Memories. See, at the end of Chain of Memories, Sora has to be put to sleep so that all his memories can be returned. And the only one with the power to do that is Naminé. And while he's been asleep, it's somewhat shown to us that Roxas, for whatever reason, has a link to Sora via the dreams he's been having. I mean, heck, he's even communicated with Kairi once. Yeah, that happens. I actually don't know why. Essentially, Roxas is slowing down Sora's recovery, but Roxas has no real grasp as to what's going on here. After talking with Naminé again, more and more questions rise in Roxas's head. Why are these things happening to him being the biggest one? She explains that him and Axel used to be best friends at some point in time, and Roxas used to be part of the organization that Axel is a part of, but he left. Before any more questions can be answered, however, the conversation ends, and Roxas is now back in Twilight Town. The 6th day arrives, and Roxas is confronted by Axel once more. Roxas tries to fool Axel by saying that, hey, we're friends, right? But Axel soon realizes that his memories are indeed long gone. Before he can attack, however, time freezes once again, and he is summoned to go back to the mansion. When arriving there, he almost in an instant remembers everything that's happened to him. His memories with Axel, leaving the organization, don't worry, we'll get to that part soon. He meets with Naminé once again to talk about the things that he's remembering. But before all his questions can be answered, a man in the black hood, the same one from before, takes her away. Going deeper into the mansion, Roxas comes across Axel once more, and even though now Roxas remembers who he is, it doesn't matter anymore. Axel is now ready to fight. After his defeat, Roxas moves on to the next room where he finds the resting place of Donald, Goofy, and of course, Sora. With the last encounter with Diz, we essentially learn that Sora cannot wake up unless Roxas becomes one with Sora. Roxas, even though angered, joins up with Sora to help him awaken and thus ends Roxas's journey. He doesn't join him so much as, link up with the... What exactly happens here? Sora now awakens from his slumber, and as any other normal person would be, he's pretty confused as to where he is. Looking around Twilight Town, Sora winds up in Hainer and the gang's hideouts, Roxas' friends from before. We learn from Pence that a person with big round ears was looking for him and that they should head to the station. When arriving there, the trio is met with the same mysterious white enemies from before. The fight just doesn't seem to end when out of nowhere Mickey jumps in and saves the three. He then gives them money and a pouch and tells them to board the train. The train knows the way. Before they can ask any questions, the king rushes off. Sora then realizes that if the king is okay, that must mean Riku is just fine as well, since they were together the last time they saw him. Catching the train takes them to a mysterious tower with someone standing at the door. That person is none other than...
the Mighty Pete!
We learn that the great wizard Yen Sid is the one who lies in this tower, and the gang runs to meet him. When meeting Yen Sid, this is where our enemies are introduced to us properly. The Heartless are enemies that we already know. They are beings that feed off people's darkness in their hearts, and when someone loses their heart, they themselves become a Heartless. However, those white beings we fought, they're a little bit different. These are the nobodies. These are mere shells that are left behind when a Heartless is created. They have no emotions and really no reason for existing. He even says that they don't truly exist. However, sometimes the simple dusk is not created. Sometimes nobodies can become even more powerful, and this leads to Organization 13. See, they are a group of nobodies, and much like the others, they have no real emotions and don't really exist. However, they are far more than just simple nobodies. And yes, I'm sure I know what you're thinking, but don't worry, we'll get there. Anyway, Sora heads into the back room and obtains some new duds, and let me just say, dang, Sora looking really cool in this new outfit. We also received the gummy ship from Yen Sid as well, and it's here where we head to a location that we've been to before. Hallow Bastion. The place is pretty much under construction because Leon and the others are trying to make Hallow Bastion like it once was, a thriving city. When meeting with Leon and seeing the state the city is in, Organization 13 appears and basically does their whole bad guy spiel. After fending off some Heartless, a new path opens, and it's here where our journey starts off. Head from world to world, unlocking new pathways and help seal away the Heartless from their worlds. All while taking down the Organization and Pete and Maleficent, oh yeah, she's back by the way, and of course, looking for the king and Riku. Alright, so much like Kingdom Hearts 1, I'll be playing the HD remake for the sake of the review, and let me just say, this game looks so pretty. Like, oh my gosh, it looks so dang good. Now, from what I understand, unlike 1.5, they actually had the source material to work on. They didn't have to go back and recreate everything from scratch. But since I don't really understand the process of porting games to HD, I can't say whether or not the fact that they had the original material helped. But nonetheless, the game still looks fantastic. I mean, I know I said this before, but it really does look like it was made for the PS3. The colors just pop out at you, and the character models look just right. Another thing I should mention, new to the HD port, I am playing the game on critical mode, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. And let me tell you this, yeah, that doesn't mess around. Also, another thing that I have to add to the list is that, like Kingdom Hearts 1, this is the final mixed version of the game. But like in that review, I'm not going to spoil most of the things that they added, for two reasons. One, going into some of these things will spoil future games in the series, so I don't want to mention them until the time is right. And two, like I said last time, these are really the kind of things I would recommend finding yourself. As someone who never really looked into the final mix editions, I was always surprised to see what they'll be throwing in. And some of the additional stuff they add in is... oof, it is something. But enough about that, let's go back into the game. Well, with a sequel comes more worlds, right? Well, kind of. In this game, there is an addition of a few worlds. You have the classics, which we'll be returning to, like Agrabah, Olympus Coliseum, and even Halloween Town. But with old, there comes some new. The new worlds we visit are the Land of Dragons, or Mulan's World, Beast's Castle, Port Royal, based off the famous Pirate in the Caribbean movies, Space Paranoids, and one of my personal favorites, the Pride Lands. And in each of these worlds, you'll be hacking and slashing your way through Heartless and Nobodies while completing that world's story. And speaking of gameplay, let's dive into it. Now, on the standard for Kingdom Hearts gameplay, it's the same in some ways. You have your command bar with the same options as before. You can attack, use magic, use an item, and even one of the new additions to this game, the drive ability, and we'll get to that in a few moments. However, this game's features not one, but two command menus. If you press left on the D-pad, you'll access the second menu, and this command menu has the options to attack again, change your party, and use a limit ability. Which, yes, again, I'll get to there in a second. This may seem like a bit of a hassle, but honestly, it isn't too much work. Heck, within some time, you'll be so used to it, you won't even notice you're doing it. Now, like I said before, the concept and design may seem similar, but from here, it's all a different route. Even with the way the camera is placed on the character, it's more zoomed out rather than in your face. It gives you more of a chance to really see the environment that you're going to be exploring. And to me, it gives me more of a reason to look around and explore. But the camera isn't the only thing that's changed. Combat, in my opinion, has the biggest change in the series, and quite possibly the best so far in the series. Now, while on the surface it may seem just like the combat in Kingdom Hearts 1, let me tell you, it's not. The combat seems so much more flowed and it looks so anime. I'm serious, like look at some of these moves you get during the game, like what is this magnetic field, what? Seriously though, take a look between these two side by side. Kingdom Hearts 1, while nice and there's really nothing wrong with it, KH2 just did it so much better, at least in my opinion. One of the newest additions to Kingdom Hearts 2 is the reaction command. Specific enemies and bosses will have an attack which can be deflected or used by pressing the triangle button and activating the reaction command. This adds a bit more variety in gameplay. See, in Kingdom Hearts 1, the main combat would just usually be tapping the X button and occasionally using a spell or a summon. While in Kingdom Hearts 2, if you only tap the X button, sure, it would get you somewhere, but it won't get you that far. See, with Kingdom Hearts 2, these reaction commands are sometimes a way of avoiding damage, rather than just being used to attack an enemy. Now, this may seem like, well, okay, you're just going to be pressing both the triangle button and the X button. And to be honest, okay, I kind of see where you're coming from. It may sound like that, and perhaps if you're playing on the easier difficulties, it may just be that. But on the harder difficulties, that is not the way it's played. Should you choose to play on these difficulties, you will be using almost every single ability you have at your disposal. Cause see, sometimes attacking just isn't enough. In my critical playthrough, I used literally almost everything I had available to its extent, because just attacking isn't enough. The game makes it so that you utilize everything the game has to offer, and I really like that aspect. And hey, speaking of new combat things, limits are now a thing. And hey, speaking of new additions to combats, limits are now a thing. Basically, each party member will have a unique attack that they can perform with Sora. And just like that, by either selecting it or using the auto limit ability, you will unleash it. Though it will cost all of your MP, so yeah, there's that. And yes, the final gameplay thing that was introduced to Kingdom Hearts, skateboarding. Okay, all kidding aside, the last thing I want to talk about is the drive forms. Though skateboarding is pretty dope. With Sora's new spanking outfit came some new nifty abilities. The drive form is a secondary form that Sora can take while sacrificing a party member, and man, oh man, if you thought the combat was cool before, oh man, it gets even cooler. I'm talking about dual-wielding keyblades flying around and slashing everything in your way, anime style kind of cool. I use this as a type of last resort or an ultimate move, you know, like a limit break in Final Fantasy VII or something. There are 4 forms in the final mix version. Well, 5. See, there's the Valor form, which is a physical form, meaning it's all about hitting the opponent with attack combos. Wisdom mode, which is all magic based, giving boosted attacks in your magic spells, as well as shooting magical bullets. Master form, which brings back the dual wielding keyblade combos, but also brings over the boosted magic abilities from Wisdom form. And finally, there's Limit Form, which is exclusive to the final mix version. In this form, Sora will take the look of his original design, and with it bring over all the abilities that you used in that games. Moves like Sonic Blade and Ars Arcanum. His basic combos are pretty out of this world as well. And yes, of course, there is one final form. It's called Final Form. This is a secret drive which can only be attainable through a chance when selecting another form. Now, in my critical playthrough, I didn't get the form mainly because I was just focused on beating the game for this review. But it is there, so don't you worry. And this form just kicks ass. It's essentially even a more powerful version than Master Form with floating dual keyblades. It is really cool. And yes, there is one more form. So I lied, there's 6. Anti-Sora. When you overuse your drive form, sometimes you will get the Anti-Sora form, and you don't want that. It is bad. Alright, well that pretty much covers all the main combat mechanics of the game. And yes, I know I'm missing stuff like the gummy ships and you know, the Moogles, and I know I'm missing stuff, alright? There is just so much to cover in this game that honestly, writing this whole script has been exhausting and mind-crushing, and just adding all those aspects would have just added to the headache. So, don't think I forgot about them, because I didn't. It's just that I will forget some stuff when writing a script. But yeah, they are alright, and that's pretty much it. Okay, that was a lot, but if you think we are close to done, then I would like to move on to the part which, look, okay, there's a lot, alright? Just strap in, folks. Okay, let's go. So, while unlocking all the different pathways to the worlds, we learn that Kairi had gone on a journey of her own to track down Sora. However, we also learn that she was immediately captured by Axel. Good job, Kairi. It's here where the organization starts to play a bigger role. We return to Hollow Bastion and learn that Leon and the gang have found what seems to be Ansem's computer. Not to mention, the king is apparently with Leon as well. They rush to Ansem's computer to find, of course, his computer. They try to find any information on the organization or where Riku or Kairi is, but the only information we do find is about a man named Ansem the Wise. And this is where the plot starts to get weird for newcomers. So obviously the blonde guy here isn't the same Ansem we defeated in Kingdom Hearts 1. Well, then, who was the guy we fought in Kingdom Hearts 1? I'll get to that in a second. First, war. Yep, I make it sound like a joke, but no, really, like, you have to go against an all-out war of the Heartless in the organization, which leads to one of the coolest parts in the game. You know, where you travel around through mountains fighting Heartless with all the Final Fantasy characters. And then, of course, there's the Battle of the 1000 Heartless, which, by the way, this is cool. But more importantly, we meet the leader of Organization 13, Xemnas. And remember that whole thing about Ansem about a minute ago? Yeah, well, here we go. Ansem the Wise is his own person. He's the real Ansem. The one we fought in Kingdom Hearts 1 was Ansem's apprentice, who, after turning down his research idea, ran off and studied and became obsessed with the Heartless, becoming one himself, making Xemnas his nobody in the process. Now the question of what is Ansem's true identity? Well, we gather from Mickey that it could be someone named Xehanort, since that's what Mickey calls Ansem's nobody the first time meeting him. From here, we basically figure out the organization's plan. They wish to rebuild Kingdom Hearts and have been sending wave after wave of Heartless towards Sora so that he himself can release the hearts that they have stolen and use those hearts to help them rebuild Kingdom Hearts. So basically, all that good you think you've been doing, yeah, no, you've been helping the bad guys out this whole time. Oops. Well, from here, Sora has a moral dilemma. He needs to fight in order to save the worlds in Kairi and, you know, find Riku. However, if Sora does fight, then he helps out the organization, which would be bad. But if he doesn't fight, worlds can get destroyed. Honestly, this is something I don't usually see in games. At least ones of this variety. Sadly, it really doesn't mean anything the rest of the game. Anyways, after all this commotion, a new mysterious world opens, but it's unreachable at the moment, and Twilight Town seems to be out of reach for a moment. This can only mean one thing. Time to revisit each of the worlds you've visited before for some more boss fights, yay! Okay, in all honesty, these revisits are not too bad. They last a little under 45 minutes at most, and they usually contain only a bit of extra story and a boss fight, and usually get some pretty cool gear out of it as well, so it's not that bad. Anyways, after going back to each world, you unlock the last gateway to Twilight Town, and when you arrive there, we see that the team has been doing a little digging around themselves. You remember that pouch that Sora has? You know, the one that contained the train money and the blue orb? Well, Olette has one that's identical to the one that Sora has. But here's the thing. That bag shouldn't exist, since Olette is the one who made it. Therefore, it's one of a kind. And the gang had a thought that maybe, just maybe, there was another Twilight Town. This essentially means that this leads to Roxas' Twilight Town. Oh yeah, by the way, it's kind of hinted at the Riku's okay or something. I probably should have mentioned that. The gang heads to the mansion and finds the secret computer lab which Diz had used to observe Roxas in his version of Twilight Town. Sora and friends head to the alternate Twilight Town where they discover the gateway to the organization's hangout. But before they can reach it, a mysterious figure wielding 2 keyblades gets in their way. And after a long and not so difficult battle, okay, guys, look, I know, but honestly, this fight isn't as hard as people make it to be, okay? Okay, it's shown that the mysterious person we fought was Roxas. I mean, yeah, no kidding. He's literally the only other person we've seen use a Keyblade up to this point, aside from, like, Mickey. So just gonna tell me that was Mickey? Like, who else can that be, honestly? Anyways, after that whole thing, the gang finds themselves at the entrance of the castle of Organization 13. And yes, from here a lot of stuff does get thrown at you, so rather than go into full detail about what happens, I will try to briefly explain all the main points that happen in the castle. Okay. Kairi meets up with Riku, who's actually Ansem, who's actually Riku. He just looks like Ansem because they let the darkness take over him. Diz was actually Ansem the Wise. Kairi, Riku, and Sora meet up again after all this time. Riku turns back to normal. Sora finds out that Roxas was his nobody. Oh wait, that's actually kind of important. Ansem more than likely dies, and the gang arrives at the final battle. Okay, I think I did pretty well. I think that was all the key points. I shall proceed normally from here on out. I missed something, I know it. The gang reaches to the top of the castle to find who else? Xemnas. He asks the heroes, why are you afraid of the darkness since it's basically everywhere? Mickey explains that it's not that they're really afraid of the darkness, they're basically afraid what's inside it. Then when asked why they hate beings like him, the answer is pretty simple. People like Xemnas mess up their worlds, and that's kind of important. And then Xemnas goes a bit power crazy and unleashes the power of Kingdom Hearts to create his own portal into Kingdom Hearts, I guess? Yeah, this door isn't really explained. So the gang head in for the final battle. Though, of course, the non-playable characters get left behind because who needs them? Really, they didn't do anything the entire game. We are the main characters now. The final battle has a few phases to it. The first phase is getting to the tower where Xemnas lies. Doing this, you'll be leaping across buildings and destroying these things. After that, you have to take control of the elevator because it's not like Sora can fly up there or something, right? And then you reach Xemnas himself. This fight is actually pretty simple if you keep your distance every now and then. He'll either swing his sword or pop up his shield. Like I said, keep your distance and you'll be fine. Xemnas is defeated and disappears. The gang celebrates and Roxas and Naminé make themselves appear in front of Sora and Kairi. Roxas pretty much figures out what Naminé's message meant. Whenever Kairi and Sora are together, Naminé and him will be together. They become one at last with their other selves, and Naminé opens the portal to get out of the castle. Perhaps back to their home. However, before Riku and Sora can enter the portal, something disrupts it. It's Xemnas, and he's back with a vengeance. Riding his big dragon thing, I guess, which he kept dormant. Why didn't you use that before? That would have helped. And grabbing a nearby floating bicycle, Riku and Sora chase after Xemnas. Thank God that bike was there, am I right? So now the true final battle begins. The first phase is on the bike and it's trying to take down the flying dragon. After taking down the 5 main parts, the second phase kicks into gear. And this is where the game just goes full on anime. It's essentially the same thing as the last phase of the fight before, only this time he can push you out of bounds and you have to fly your way back and destroy his barrier by sending buildings at him. See, I told you, anime. Then after this fight begins the actual final battle. This fight is honest to God not too difficult, but it may seem like I'm having a hard time. That's because I was. Because here's the thing. This fight always starts the same way, by Xemnas launching you into the air. In this part, you're supposed to press the triangle button to dodge the hits. However, for me, the reaction command would not appear. Instead, it would be Riku's Dark Shield ability, which doesn't help. Therefore, Xemnas is getting a free hit. Now, I did find a way to counter this, but the problem kept appearing over and over again each time I died. And the thing is, you can restart the fight from this point if you lose. And since this is critical mode and about 2 or 3 hits gets you killed and reloading my file would mean I have to do all this crap all over again, I pushed on. Try after try, I finally overcame the odds and defeated Xemnas. Now, maybe this was just a one-time thing and maybe it would never happen again. But I'm not gonna lie, this caused a little frustration to me. But nonetheless, Xemnas is defeated and now our heroes are stuck. With Riku injured and not knowing where they are, our heroes simply start walking. They come across a door which brings them to the realm of darkness. They decide that if it's here where they have to stay, then they gladly accept it. However, a message in a bottle arrives for Sora. And of course, it's from Kairi. After reading the letter, the door to light appears and shows them a way out. After entering the door, they find themselves once again back home. A giant happy get-together again as their journey has finally come to an end. And things are back to being peaceful. Or are they? Cue credits, and ladies and gentlemen, this has been the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. And I'm gonna be honest, I've been holding myself from saying this, but Kingdom Hearts 2 is my personal favorite Kingdom Hearts game from reasons other than the game just being great. It's actually brought me from some pretty bad times in my life. The gameplay is fantastic and is much more than meets the eye. The soundtrack, especially in the HD remake, is phenomenal, and the game overall is just fantastic. I love everything about it. The character designs, just everything. So it wouldn't be surprising that I say, hey, check this game out when you can. Just make sure you play the other games that came out prior to this one, or else you'll be a bit confused. And with that, I thank you all so much for watching, and to those who supported me and helped me out on my month of Kingdom Hearts, it means a lot to me that you did. And I can't wait till I do this again next time. And speaking of next time, well, I have a little surprise for you.